So now, ladies and gentlemen, live and in colour, it's Mr. Wayne Lovejuice.
The other day our producer Louis had a chat with an interesting chappie who said that the YouTube algorithm really aren't that happy. If a channel only broadcasts once a week, so we decided we could text ya whenever we've got a piece of news in our new book on the Track Extra. Well, hello ladies and gentlemen, my name's John Downs and welcome to another episode of On the Track Extra. I may be looking slightly dishevelled, but I've been running around all day like a headless chicken. I mustn't really say that because the expression upsets Hennis, but I've been running around all day being incredibly busy. And I'm just about to go to my Bible study class that I do every Monday evening. But I've got about a quarter of an hour free, so I thought I should really tell you that the new issue of Animals and Men is out, it's available for sale, and it's up on Amazon. And that also means that the last issue, the new issue is issue 81, the last issue was issue 80. Issue 80 is now available for free as a flipbook up on the CFZ website, and issue 81 is now available, I think it's for £8, up on the Amazon and on the CFZ web shop. Golly, we have been so busy, but I thought I'd better really go through the most recent issue for you, and if there's time I'll go through what was in the issue before, just so you know before you look at it. But then, as you can see, issue 80 for free, it's really fairly pointless, I think, me telling you all about it, because you can just go and look for yourselves. But the main story on the issue 81, the cover story, and the most important piece of investigation, is what happened to a friend of mine, a fairly recent friend of mine, but somebody who has appeared in these pages and on this show before. I'm not going to name her at the moment, not because she needs to be kept secret, but because I haven't asked for her permission to out her, as it were, and I don't really want to do that without getting her permission first, especially as there's no real need. Now, she is a trainee midwife working in North Devon, and one night back in May, she and a colleague were driving back home after a home delivery. Now, the home delivery was not quite according to plan because the baby arrived a little bit early, and by the time that she and her colleague had arrived to deliver the baby was already squawking like newborn babies do, having delivered itself quite happily in the way that newborn babies of the human race have done for something in the region of 600,000 years. But I'm digressing a little bit. They were on their way back to the hospital, and now a bit of background here. The lady about whom I'm talking is white British Caucasian. The lady who accompanied her was brown British and a Muslim. The lady whom I'm talking about is not a Christian, but she comes from a Judeo-Christian cultural background, whereas, as is probably obvious, the Muslim lady doesn't. They were driving back along the A39, very late at night when the lady I'm talking about saw a pair of huge, muscular human legs running across the road in front of them. Now, she's not sure whether what she saw was just the bottom half of a huge humaniform creature, or whether the only thing that was visible were the legs and that the torso was not visible. Now, I did a bit of looking into this, although there is no record that I can find of something like this happening anywhere else at that part of the A39. There are stories from all around the world about ghostly legs running across roads. And it is a quite well-known global phenomenon, although it had been one that I'd never heard of before. But what I have heard of before is road ghosts. And I knew that one of my old friends, whom I will out here, it's V. McCrinnan, who quite often appears on this show, back when he used to ride a motorbike, something like 35, maybe even 40 years ago, he'd encountered a road ghost. In fact, he drove all the way right through a road ghost. And so I discussed with him the phenomenon of road ghosts and wondered in the article, which I go into in some depth, whether what this lady, whom I shall not name, saw was part of a BHM phenomenon, a woodrose, if you like, or whether it was a road ghost, or whether it was something completely different. Now, just in case you're wondering, BHM phenomena have made themselves obvious in this country before in only a partial form, and the most famous of these accounts took place in the 1930s. On Dartmoor, when Theo Brown, the doyen of Devonshire folklore for something like 5 decades, was camping as a girl with her family in a caravan, and the caravan was very near the spot between Princetown and Postbridge where the legend of the hairy hands takes place. And for those of you who don't know, this is a strange apparition which has turned up on this particular stretch of road on and off for many years, and which takes the form of a pair of hairy humaniform hands which grab the handles of the motorbike or the steering wheel of the car and wrest it out of the control of the driver and cause serious and occasionally fatal crashes. Now, Thea Brown was camping in this caravan. I don't know where her parents were. I'm sure you want to find out more. It's in her book, Devon Ghosts, which I thoroughly recommend to people. But if you look in this book, it will tell you what happened to her parents. But from memory, she saw a pair of disembodied hairy hands like those of an ape or a very, very hirsute human being, and much larger than one would expect from an ordinary-sized human, scratching at the glass of the window of her caravan. Now, many researchers, including me, have classed these hairy hands, both the ones that have happened on the road between Princetown and Postbridge and the ones that Theo Brown saw, alongside other woodrose type phenomena, that's one of the things really, really pisses me off, is when people say phenomena when they mean phenomenon and the other way around. But BHM type phenomena, which have been described from Devon, Cornwall and other parts of the West Country. So, was this thing that my friend, the trainee midwife, saw running across the road part of a BHM? Was it part of a road ghost? Was it something completely different? It is interesting, I think, and I have written about this at some length, how people from different cultural backgrounds have different types of Fortean phenomena that almost fit in with their cultural backgrounds and with the tropes of their cultural backgrounds. And it is interesting, I think, that my friend saw these things and her friend, the driver, the Muslim girl, didn't. If they'd both seen it, then one would have imagined that the Muslim girl might have thought that these were jinn. And I mean DJINN. I don't mean the bottle of stuff that usually comes in a green bottle, and which is very nice with bitter lemon. A jinn, or disembodied spirit. Now, I've gone into this. There's an interview with my acquaintance who saw this creature, this whatever it was, and an interview with V. McQuinn about his road ghost, and I go in quite serious depth into the background and what happened next. And interestingly, at exactly the same time as this happened, some disembodied legs, which appear to have been cut off a corpse, and which some people claim are the remains of an attack by a great white shark, although no one has seen anything they claim to be a great white shark in North Devon waters this summer, as far as I'm aware, were found on Westward Ho Beach within a week or so. And so it's all very interesting, and I go into quite serious detail about this event and the events surrounding it. We also have an interesting article in there by Gwyn Palmer about pink grasshoppers, which are a type of leucistic grasshopper which appears to be bubblegum pink, and which have turned up in various parts of the United Kingdom in recent years, again particularly in the West Country. And she explains how, why and where these things can be found, and also expresses, now this doesn't surprise me at all, I have trained her well, expresses the desire to have some in the CFZ menagerie, which is rapidly taking over her house in Exeter, to see if we can breed them, and if we can, do they breed true. There are also all sorts of other things in there. We have got a book review, which I go into quite some detail about the Fortean zoological significance of The Triumph of the Moon by Ronald Hutton, who I met when Karina and I were on our very brief honeymoon back in 2007, and whom I have corresponded with a few times over the years, and I finally got around to finishing his book, and it is magnificent. I write in great depth about that and why it's important from a British Fortean zoological perspective. And I also present, together with Gwyn, because basically this issue was written by me and Gwyn, we produce a selection of new and rediscovered creatures. We talk about some Bigfoot sightings. We talk about some lake and sea mystery creature sightings. And we have a brief thing about what happened when mystery cats turned up on the doorstep of King Charles's private residence at Highgrove House in Gloucestershire. And all of this very quick. So I would go and check it out if I were you, boys and girls, but then again, I would say that. I'll be back on Saturday. What am I talking about on Saturday? I've got absolutely no idea, but something will arise, I am certain. Doodle pip.